Right, so everything you see in front of you is going to be for our first brew. Now, it's very cheap to start, as you can see, and it's going to be very, very simple. I'm not going to give away the surprise yet of what it actually will be, but I can tell you that this is the simplest one that you could possibly make. And this is just plain sugar wine. As it sounds, it's a wine, so it's around 13%. And if I can get it in, this little yeasty thing here. I didn't find any universal wine yeast because I normally use the universal wine yeast from Wilkinson's. So instead I've gone for the Lavin K1V1116, which I've been told is the same as universal. If you can't get hold of any universal, you can also use this, which is the Young's Dessert High Alcohol Yeast. It's not bad. You're also going to need some yeast nutrient. This just helps. It speeds everything along. It's much easier. And for just as a should get, one of these. It's a hydrometer. I picked this up from Wilkinson's, and it's about $3.50. And it's just very, very handy to have. But you won't need one to start off with. I just thought I'd put it in there as things you should get. So you will need a 1 gallon water bottle. This is the simplest way to start. This one costs $1.39, and you will need 1 kilo of sugar, but I could only find 2, so we're going to be using 2 kilos. So I'm going to get started on this video. Right, so to start this video, what you want to do is first crack open your sterile bottle of water and pour a bit out. As you can hear, out goes the water. Like so. You can see I've poured a bit out. And you can boil the sugar in, heat it up in a kettle and let it cool down, but yeah, you don't have to, so I'm not going to in this particular video, since we're going to do the easiest way possible. So now you get your 2 kilos of sugar, and you put half of it in, so 1 kilo. If you only have 1 kilo of sugar, dump the whole lot in. And it's going away. Still going. And just keep adding that until you put in roughly half the bag. You can measure it out, but the universal yeast that I'm going to be using here can take up to 16%, but we want to ferment it dry, so I'm going to go around the 14%. There we go. So now we're going to put the lid on, and we're going to shake it. Give it a minute. And what we want to do is dissolve as much of the sugar into this water as you can. Like so. This is one of the simplest brews to make, and it's also one of the most useful. A lot of the kit wines that you'll buy, the cheap ones, they are made by basically making a sugar mix like so, and then they add a flavouring in after. We're just cutting out spending 20 quid on making the brews like that. And we're just buying a water bottle, pouring out a bit of water, adding in sugar. And as you'll see, this is kind of cloudy like so. But the sugar is nearly all dissolved in here. You just keep shaking it. Now, if you can't get hold of wine yeast or dessert yeast, you can use dry active yeast. This is just bread yeast. You can use it, it will give you a yeasty taste, and you can only really ferment up to about 6%, so not ideal, but you can do it. So that should be. That's clearing out again. And because there's no pectin in it, we don't have to worry about things bubbling over. And because it's just sugar, it's pretty good. So we've put our kilo of sugar in the water and we've shaken it about. As you can see, it's turning back clear. That means all the sugar has dissolved in it. And there's a little bit of a gap here, so we can fill that back up. Because we're not using any solids other than sugar, which is dissolved, it's not going to foam over, so you don't have to worry about it spilling, so you can actually fill it up to just about the top. So now we've got our water and our sugar. I'm going to take the hydrometer, so I can do this bit for you. And I'm going to open up the lid, chuck it in. And just leave it for a second. And it's telling me, if I can find the bit here, that this is, twist, just to make sure I've done it right. It should be saying 14, and it is, it's saying 14%, which is what? That's the potential alcohol we can get. And that is roughly 225 grams of sugar per litre, which is very nice to know. And now you can just add in your wine yeast, or your yeast that you have. Remember, if you're using baker's yeast, you want to do it about 6%, so less. And we're going to take our nutrient, because we want it to ferment fully, and 1 level teaspoon, like so, per gallon. So here it goes, dump it in. And that makes sure that the yeast has all the nutrients it does to ferment this fully. And one of these will ferment 25 litres in total. But you can divide them up and just use a sprinkling, and then you just sprinkle it in like so. Still a little bit left over for some other project. And then, because it's going to be bubbling away, all you want to do is stop the air, stop bugs and things from coming in. So you just turn the cap very slightly. And this is basically your first brew. Now you just put it to one side, and you'll start seeing it bubbling. So here's the sugar wine that we put on. It has now been 24 hours later, and as you can tell, it's changed from the clear colour that it once was to a cloudy colour. That means that it has cultured the yeast, has cultured this completely, and is dividing at a crazy rate and making lots and lots of alcohol and carbon dioxide. The reason that we have the lid here, it's slightly off, but it's still on, but it's just not tight, is because it's going to produce carbon dioxide as the yeast turns it into the sugar into alcohol, and it's going to come out the top. What this is positive pressure, so it means that it's pushing out the gas but not letting any oxygen in. If you just left the cap off, like so, what's going to happen is, one, bugs can get in, and two, it's not actually going to ferment into alcohol. What it will do is turn into carbon dioxide and water, which is it's not what we want. We want to ferment it. So what you have to make sure is that you put the lid on, so there's gas that builds up and a little bit of pressure. It will take a little bit of time. You'll have the lid popping off occasionally. That's okay, as long as you just put the lid back on. You can put a balloon over the top, but the cap works just fine. So what we're going to do is leave this to completely ferment.